What's up guys, and today in this video we are going to be using Madden 16 to try and predict the 2016 NFL Draft, and I used the game to predict the postseason just a few months ago, and that worked out pretty okay. It actually got the wild card completely correct, and then after that it didn't really do that well, and but that's just the game, you know, it has to predict something, and you know, a lot of people who also made their picks are wrong, and probably there are going to be a lot of wrong picks in this one, but it's interesting to see what the teams will select. Obviously, it's not a real draft class, so we're just going to be using it to predict position that maybe your favorite team selects, and we're going to look at the positions, and maybe I wrote down a bunch of players that are supposed to go in the first round according to a few different analysts, and I'll just give my thoughts on what I think. Now, the rosters and the draft order is completely correct. I tried my very hardest to do that, and that spent a lot of time to get this prepared, so let's get right into it. So up first at number 1 is the Los Angeles Rams. They traded with the Tennessee Titans to get all the way up to number 1, and pretty much everyone is thinking quarterback here. There's really no other reason why they would trade up this much to get anything other than a quarterback at this spot. And as you can see right here, the game also chooses quarterback just like everyone thinks, but there's a little bit of a debate on who's going to go. A lot of people are saying Jared Goff over Carson Wentz, and I think that as well. And there's 2 links in the description to 2 mock drafts, and I'm going to be linking that I used in this video just to help me come up with some of the names and some of the accuracies and inaccuracies of this video. So now picking at number 2 is the Philadelphia Eagles. They also made a pretty big trade to get up to number 2, and just like before, everyone is thinking that they are going to select the other quarterback. But as you can see right here, the game thinks that the Philadelphia Eagles will select a defensive tackle. Now, the only way that I could see this happening is a lot of people are saying it's going to go Goff, then Wentz. Like, what if the Rams selected Wentz, and then, I don't know, the Eagles just freaked out, and they don't really know anything, and they just pick up, you know, their second positional need, which might be a defensive tackle. And I guess that's the only really way that I could see that happening. But let's move on to the next pick. So now that we've done the big 2 that everyone's talking about, some of these rounds are going to go a little bit faster, and in the 3rd round it is now the San Diego Chargers, and the game thinks that they will also pick a defensive tackle at this position. So between the Eagles and the Chargers, you know, it could be Sheldon Rankings or Andrew Billings. Those are some top defensive tackles. I think that's a little bit more realistic than the Eagles picking a defensive tackle, and I'd say it's plausible, definitely somewhat plausible at this point. So now on to number 4 with the Cowboys, and at this point I think this would be pretty plausible for this scenario that we got going on. The Cowboys select the other quarterback, whatever one it is, and I think in this situation, if somehow it only one quarterback would have went by the time the Cowboys come up, I think that would definitely have a pretty good shot of happening, whether it's Wentz or Goff. Now on to number 5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they select a cornerback, which lines up with one of the drafts I have in the description, and most likely that is going to be Jalen Ramsey, which is looking to be the best corner in this year's draft. So now we have number 6 with the Baltimore Ravens, and a lot of mock drafts are thinking that they are going to get outside linebacker Miles Jacks, but in Madden, they are going to select a cornerback. So Jalen Ramsey most likely won't be available here, but there's also Vernon Hargreaves and Mackenzie Alexander are a few other names of some top cornerbacks in this year's draft. Now on to number 7 with the San Francisco 49ers, and Madden thinks that they are going to pick the first wide receiver of the day. And I was thinking either Laquan Treadwell or Corey Coleman could probably go here. They are definitely one of the top wide receivers, although definitely not as good as a wide receiver class that we had 2 years ago. All those names, as not a lot of drafts have the wide receiver very high up in their mock drafts. Now we go on to number 8 with the Browns. They traded down And in Madden, they think that they are also going to get a wide receiver. So 2 corners going back to back, and now 2 wide receivers going back to back. And again, either Laquan Treadwell or Corey Coleman will most likely be going, if they're going to be going this high. And now we get on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Madden thinks that they will select a cornerback. And in one of the drafts in the description, they predict that Vernon Hargreaves will be going here. So that seems like a pretty good selection here, as well as maybe Mackenzie Alexander if they decide a different corner could fit them better. Now on to the Giants at number 10, and they will be selecting a wide receiver, and one of the drafts in the description has them picking Corey Coleman here, so that might be a possibility. And most likely some of the other wide receivers will be off the board, so maybe Josh Doxson. He's projected to go a little bit later, but with teams already picking wide receiver, I had to look a little bit deeper. And now at number 11, we have the Chicago Bears, with definitely one of the most interesting picks out of these 31 that I'm going to be showing here. They are going to be the first team to select a tight end. Now, the reason I think that this is kind of interesting is that, well, first off, none of the mock drafts really have a tight end going in the first round, but one of the mock drafts has the Bears selecting a tight end in the second round. So I thought maybe, the Bears really want this player. Hunter Henry is the one that they predict, so maybe they do they really reach for him and think that he's going to be a big impact to this team. Now picking at number 12 is the New Orleans Saints, and in the game they are going to select a cornerback. Lots of corners off the board, but one of the mock drafts has them picking Mackenzie Alexander, and because of so many corners have gone at this point, there's also the potential that Eli Apple could move up a little bit and maybe be selected by the Saints. It's just a guessing game at this point. So now at pick number 13, the Miami Dolphins are going to select a defensive tackle, beefing up that already stacked defensive line with another tackle here, and probably I was thinking either a Sean Robinson, Robert Kemdish. Those are a little bit of reaches, but in this Madden draft, a few of the defensive tackles have already gone earlier, so I think that would be probably what they would go here. Now for pick number 14, the Oakland Raiders select a middle linebacker, which one of the drafts had, I think he might have been an outside linebacker, Leonard Floyd, going here, but this is the first linebacker off the board, so it could be Miles Jack or Reggie Ragland I also have here, maybe. Now picking at number 15, the Titans, they dropped all the way down to 15, and they're going to select an outside linebacker. No one was really taking linebackers. They saw the Raiders do it, so they took up probably the best outside linebacker in the draft, Joey Bosa, maybe Miles Jack, and I also have Shaq Lawson just as more of a realistic number 15. On to number 16 with the Detroit Lions. They selected the second tight end of the draft. None of the mock drafts had any tight ends going in like the top 50 picks, but here we have our second tight end, and I'm just going to think either Austin Hooper or Hunter Henry. One of them would go to the Bears, and then one of them would go to the Lions. Number 17, with the Atlanta Falcons, they select a cornerback. Cornerback has been pretty abundant in this draft, and I think that they would go either Eli Apple or maybe William Jackson here at number 17. Now picking at number 18, the Indianapolis Colts also select a cornerback, and I was thinking, just those guys I just said, Eli Apple, William Jackson, maybe Arctic Burns is another guy I saw that could possibly go in the first round for the 18th pick. Now this one was interesting. I actually skipped a few of the picks. The Bills, the Jets, and the Redskins all selected defensive ends, and if I'm not mistaken, they are all 3-4 teams, so they're all picking the exact same position, so I decided to just lump them together. And I was thinking the only one that had a mock draft was for the Bills getting Noah Spence, but for all three of these we have him, DeForest Buckner maybe, a Sean Robinson might drop down, as well as Shaq Lawson might drop down a little bit here. So yeah, they all picked defensive ends. Now onto pick number 22 with the Houston Texans, and they select the first safety of the draft. And I was thinking, you know, there really wasn't any good safeties projected to go this high up. So I thought maybe they would just take a corner, and I wrote down Eli Apple, maybe William Jackson, just like those guys before I said. Just because there's not really any safeties going this high. I didn't think any of them would realistically go here. Now on to pick number 23 with the Minnesota Vikings, and they select a wide receiver. One of the mock drafts has Laquan Treadwell going here, and I was thinking either him or maybe Josh Doxton here for number 23. Now coming up on pick number 24, the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going to select the first offensive lineman of this draft. I definitely do not think that is realistic. I don't think that any of the top tackles would drop this far, but you know, they get their first pick. So Laramie Tunsil, projected to be one of the best players in this draft, he drops all the way down to number 24, maybe with Ron Lee Stanley or Jack Conklin, just for more realistic selections at tackle here. Now on to pick number 25, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're going to select a cornerback. Now, one of the mock drafts in the description had Eli Apple going here, and the other mock draft had William Jackson. Now, the past 4 corners, I've said those 2 names for every single one, so a lot of more corners going in Madden than I guess they're predicting to go in real life. We'll just have to see if that's the case. Now on to pick number 26 with the Seattle Seahawks, and they're going to pick an offensive guard, which I don't think is that far from what they're probably going to be doing in this draft. A lot of people are saying Ryan Kelly, although he's a center, although guard and center kind of the same thing, but Cody Whitehair, I think, is one of the top guards, so maybe him. Now picking at number 27, the Green Bay Packers. They're going to select an outside linebacker, and with not a lot of linebackers taken this far, I could maybe see Shaq Lawson falling this far, and I think maybe Darren Lee could be this outside linebacker pick for them. Now getting towards the end of the draft here, the Kansas City Chiefs, they're going to take a wide receiver, and one of the mock drafts had them picking either Michael Thomas or Laquan Treadwell, so I think those are some pretty safe picks here at number 28. And now we are on to pick number 29 with the Arizona Cardinals, and they're going to select a quarterback, which might be the case in real life. I don't really think so, but I think the real reason that they picked him here in Madden is that Carson Palmer retired, and I tried to get him a free agent quarterback to make it a little bit less of a chance, but I guess that they go quarterback, you know, not entirely impossible for the Cardinals, but we'll have to see. On to pick number 30, and this is going to be the Carolina Panthers, and they are going to select cornerback after just losing Josh Norman. It's probably pretty realistic. They have, I wrote down William Jackson or Arctic Burns maybe, or some other corner. We're kind of getting towards the end, and a lot of corners have gone, so kind of difficult to tell at this point. And now with the final pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select only the second offensive tackle off the board, and one mock draft has them picking Jason Springs, and just with how weird none of the teams picking offensive linemen, I'm just going to go with that as my probable pick. So that's it, guys. The first 31 picks in the 2016 NFL Draft, predicted as best as I could with Madden 16, as realistic as I could get it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are excited for the draft tomorrow to see who your team gets. And if you guys could like the video, that'd be awesome. I will catch you guys later. Bye-bye.